He was the Perth scientist who became the toast of the medical world after solving a conundrum that had perplexed doctors for 100 years. Barry Marshall, with colleague Professor Robin Warren, won the Nobel Prize for identifying that a bacterium, not stress or a poor diet, was responsible for stomach ulcers. Robin Warren is now in retirement, but Barry Marshall is on the way to trumping even his own spectacular discovery. He and his team are about to start human trials of a system which could one day deliver vaccines for everything from the flu to cholera without needles. And he's using an old friend to create the very first edible vaccines. Ros Thomas reports.
This little bug that so many people have in their stomach controls your immune system. You can't get rid of it, so it's possible to load something useful onto it, and it could carry a vaccine into the body and vaccinate you through the wall of the stomach.
Barry Marshall's fascination with an odd little bacteria called Helicobacter pylori has become a lifelong obsession, a germ he now believes could help science revolutionise the way we immunise humans against disease. At work here, tucked away in a secure lab at Perth's Sir Charles Gardner Hospital, are 16 of the world's leading microbiologists, a high-calibre team recruited by Barry Marshall to turn his idea into a multi-million-dollar research project. And it all began as an epiphany 10 years ago in Switzerland.
I was sitting in the audience and listening to a vaccine study about HIV and AIDS which had failed. I said, if only there was a way of getting a vaccine to millions of people for about 10 cents each. How could you do that? And I realised then that maybe Helicobacter was the thing to use. Hey Rob. It's good to see you again.
No one else had ever wanted to see what I was doing before. So to actually have someone come and ask to see it, I thought was pretty good.
Long lives.
Yeah.
Once a year, these old colleagues meet up for a beer overlooking the Swan River. Between them, they know more about Helicobacter pylori than anyone else on the planet. But for more than a century, doctors had been convinced that no bacteria could survive the acid bath of the stomach. Medical doctrine held that stomach ulcers were caused by stress or spicy food. But Perth pathologist Robin Warren was certain he'd seen bacteria growing in the stomachs of ulcer patients. In 1981, he apprenticed the young gastroenterologist Barry Marshall to see if together they could prove the establishment had got it wrong.
We were having a lot of trouble with people thinking our ideas were mad. I had pretty good evidence for what I was doing. I had some very nice photographs that I could show people, but the clinicians didn't want to see them.
One of their biggest hurdles was that they could not get Helicobacter pylori to infect guinea pigs in the lab. It was peculiar only to humans, and as far as Barry Marshall was concerned, that left just one very unsavoury option.
After a couple of years, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, I've got to actually prove that these things can infect a healthy human.
He just came along and said to me, let's do it. And I just said no.
Did you draw straws as to who would drink it, you or
Well, I was the only
Robin
person.
Warren?
I was the only person interested in it, and so I did it on myself. My lab tech, he had to brew up the bacteria for a few weeks and put them in the broth and stirred it up, and it just looked a little bit cloudy. And then I sculled it down like a tequila or something. And then what's going to happen? Well, nothing happened. Then I started waking up in the morning and vomiting in the toilet. So I said, hang on a minute, this is a bit unusual. And then finally, on the 8th day, I had an endoscopy where they put the scope down, took the biopsies, and there were absolutely massive numbers of bacteria all sticking to the lining of my stomach. So that was a very exciting day for me. At that point, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And, of course, I spoke to my colleagues, I told them about it, and then I went home and told my wife about it. And she was there. You did what?
That story is now legend, not least because 21 years later, wife Adrian has forgiven him, and Barry Marshall and Robin Warren were awarded the Nobel Prize for their discovery in 2005.
All of a sudden it was pretty exciting because we had a little bacteria which infected 3 billion people, and 10% of those people were getting ulcers, so the 300 million people needed to know about this.
In this freezer at -80 degrees are 500 of the million or so strains now identified as Helicobacter pylori. One by one, Barry Marshall's scientists are testing them for their suitability to carry a vaccine. So far, their strike rate has exceeded all expectations. They have found 10 strains that appear to act benignly in humans, yet can still be genetically manipulated to carry a strand of foreign DNA from a disease like influenza.
We can take a piece of DNA from, say, a cholera bacteria and put that into our Helicobacter, and then when it's in your stomach, just sitting there, not causing too much trouble, it starts producing the cell wall of cholera. And your immune system looks at it and says, excuse me, I need to do something here, it looks like I'm getting cholera. And so you make antibodies against cholera, and now you are immunised against cholera.
Here he was thinking of H. pylori as a tool, not as a bug that causes a disease anymore. He's using it as a carrier tool for a completely different set of functions. And I thought, yep, that's Barry, and maybe he's onto something again.
As head of gastroenterology at Sir Charles Gardner Hospital, Hui E is selecting the patients who will this month begin the first round of human trials to test the safety of the chosen strains.
They won't cause the host any harm, and in time, once their usefulness is expired, we can just give them a simple course of eradication therapy and boom, off it goes. So it was just there for a while, carried the vaccines or whatever, and then it's destroyed again.
Do you believe that this could well change the face of human vaccinations?
This will change human vaccinations. I think we can do it. Once it's developed, you can make it anywhere. In the middle of Africa with a solar panel. You don't really need to have a big factory or anything. And we'll control that from Perth. So what have we got on Thursday, Rachel?
Even Barry Marshall's ties now bear the stamp of his favourite bacteria, and his life has become a whirlwind of international lectures, meetings of scientific minds and investor briefings. But his vision of a world where children need only sip a drink to be saved from disease is now about to materialise.
What we're standing on is a whole foundation of the Barrys of this world, the scientists, the researchers of this world who then create and innovate and make new things that help us to institute or provide better healthcare for more people. And I cannot tell you how many millions of dollars he has saved worldwide on his discoveries, how many millions of lives he has saved and improved with these sorts of discoveries.
How far ahead of the rest of the scientific world are you with this one?
We're ahead. So the problem is you never know what secret research is happening in the other universities. So it's a kind of an exciting long-distance horse race, if you like.